to all of my Gems family. How are you doing? This is Life with Marlene, your Florida vlogger, and I'm here for another conversation, another podcast conversation, audio talk, whatever you want to call it. Today, we're going to be talking about sometimes it's just not working out. And we're going to go into four types of relationships where things just aren't working out. And we're going to start with our relatives. Notice I said relatives and not family, okay? Sometimes it just does not work out between us and relatives because of differing opinions. When you're an adult, you just don't have the same opinions, and it's just not going to work because when you have relatives that do not respect your opinion, then that's it. It's just not going to work out. And there are some adults that are our relatives that have the opinion because they're older, they know better than you, and they can be very controlling and judgmental. And in those cases, it's not going to work. Being an adult means being mature enough to let each individual be themselves. Unless it's toxicity, then that's a whole different thing. But when it comes to the relative sort of relationship, it gets to be out of control sometimes. Hey, realist, how are you doing? Happy Thursday. When it comes to relatives, it gets to be very out of control a lot of times, where relatives don't respect boundaries. They do what they want to do, but they will not allow you to do what you want to do. There's a lot of backstabbing and meanness, evil, and that just doesn't work. I get it. When people are older than you, they think that they know everything and what you should do and what you want. But you do have to respect your relatives that are younger. When they get to be a certain age, they have to make their own decisions, and you agree to disagree and all of those things. But yeah, it's just not going to work out. The ones that want to be very judgmental and very controlling, you have to leave those alone. You have to let them be, because anytime you're around them, it gets to be like a headache, lots of judgment. There's always some words that are thrown that are kind of like an undercut, like they're saying things but not really coming all out and saying it. So there's a lot of judgment in there. So for that reason, it's just not going to work out with the individuals that we know who are our relatives that won't allow us to be ourselves. They want you to be who they want you to be, and that's really just not going to work. It's not going to work. And that's why I said sometimes it's just not going to work out no matter how much you try. And you can love people, but the thing about it is that people have to love you back. You can't just keep giving your time, your efforts, your energy, your money, your resources to people who are very disrespectful. And you can do so much when it comes to relatives. You can do so much pouring into them. You can do so much encouraging. You do so much, and it's never enough. No matter what you do for them, they will never be satisfied, especially when it comes to extended family, even our immediate family at times, but especially extended family. They don't live in the home. They don't know the things that's going on. They don't know the certain situations and circumstances, and yet there's judgment and all of their projections of their fears, their insecurities, and wanting to control how they think situations should go. Hi, Arthur. How are you doing? Welcome. So that's a thing that we have to know how to say when. We have to know when enough is enough, and leave them alone. I think that's one of the best things when it comes to relatives is knowing when you need to distance yourself and walk away from them and leave them all the way alone, because something will pop off. There's so much things that happens like on all these crime shows where relatives that didn't set the boundaries and like literally remove themselves from certain individuals, and they, I guess they thought they could change them or things would improve, or just not being emotionally intelligent enough to say they're too taxing on my emotional, mental, physical, and etc. health. But you got to leave those relatives alone. They will put you in the ground if you're not careful. I'm trying to tell y'all. They will put you in the ground really fast, really stress you out, really drive you crazy. You have to be really careful. You got to distance yourself from them. And just because people are our relatives, it doesn't mean that they love us back. They can say it all day long, but what are the actions behind that? And how is their energy? How do they make you feel? Yeah. So if they make you feel like you're nothing, if they make you feel like you never do enough, if there's always some sort of look or judgment, you have to leave those people alone because of their insecurities and their lack of mental health. Some people are not mentally well, especially when it comes to relatives. There's a lot of people who are relatives that are dealing with undiagnosed mental health illness. They're just not in a good space. Their mental health is not good. Actually, some of them have mental illness that has been undiagnosed for many years. And I've said this so often that relatives can be very undiagnosed, but it doesn't mean they don't have a problem. Just because they don't see that they have a problem or admit it, it doesn't mean they don't need help. And I really do feel sorry for individuals who have to deal with those who are undiagnosed mentally ill. You just gotta leave those people alone. You can't, because they'll put you in the ground. They'll disrupt your mental health. They'll take all of your finances, because they can never have enough and you can never do enough for them. So for that reason, it's just not going to work. Okay, let's go on to the next group of relationships that it just is not going to work out. And that is with the frenemies, the ones that we think are our friends, but they are really an enemy. And you may not even realize it because of what they say or how long you have known them. You can be loyal, but you really don't know until you really pay attention. How is their energy? How well do they support me? Are they always gossiping about other people? What ways do they show up for me? Like calling, texting, showing up for me for the things that I need for me, not just for them. See, a lot of times, Gem's family, we can be there for friends and our relatives, but they will not be there for us back. And that's when you know it's just not going to work. When people don't respect our boundaries, they don't respect us. They don't respect you. And if someone doesn't respect you, there's the door. It's time for you to go. And the same thing applies to a person who is a friend. It's very hard. It's difficult when maybe you've been through some situations with that person. And yes, maybe at one time they may have been a friend to you, but as seasons change, as you get older, as you mature, maybe you start to see some of that mask slipping. The mask starts dropping off and you're like, wait a minute, I didn't see this about this person before, or people have warned you about certain flaws inside of them and you didn't see it at the time, but maybe later on it becomes reveal, and you start paying attention because you've matured and you've healed, and you allow yourself to see it for what it is in real time, and not just what you believe, or not because of what they say to you. The next set of relationships where it's just not going to work, and this is a romantic relationship. Now, any of you who have ever been in a romantic relationship with somebody who is extremely toxic knows what I mean. When they are toxic, when they are dysfunctional, when they are mentally ill, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. When someone is very selfish and all they think about is themselves, there is there's no going back and forth. There's no appreciation. There's no gratitude. Actually, it will be a reverse. They will always say, you don't do anything, when you can be completely exhausting yourself emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and financially for them. And there's not a thank you, there's no gratitude, there's no nothing. And it goes on both sides, ladies and gentlemen, because a man can do it, and so can a woman. I don't say things that are gender specific, that all men do this or all women do that. No. Some women can do it, just like some men can do it as well. I always do things on the same level playing field. There's no what you call it, I can't think of the word, but you guys know what I'm saying. There is no thing that, oh, because I'm a woman, women are always right, or for men, that men are always right. No, there's always toxicity on both genders. There's toxicity, and anybody who is toxic, it's not going to work. But you are the one that has to see it for what it is. I know for myself, I had to see it for what it is in my romantic relationship previously, that it just wasn't working. It's when one person is putting in all the work, one person is doing all of the supporting, one person is doing all the listening, one person is doing all of the planning or taking care of the home or the finances, and the other one is just doing whatever it is that they want to do, not really caring or doing anything to keep the relationship going. And what happens a lot in romantic relationships is people forget how they met somebody to continue that, to keep the romance alive, to keep the fire in the relationship. It's not just a once for all time. I met you, we're together, and it's going to be cool forever. You have to learn and grow together, because if you're not learning and growing and having good communication, there's no way that the relationship will work. It most definitely will fizzle out. So to anybody who is in a romantic relationship currently and you see lots of red flags, there's no communication, or the communication that is there is very, very dark, very manipulative, verbally abusive and toxic, that's not going to work. And I want to say to all of you, to my male gems, to my female gems, don't let people disrespect you, talk to you like you're trash, because you're not. I've heard many times where people will say, oh, nobody will ever want you, or you're nothing without me, or being very accusatory of what you do with your life, accusing you of cheating and so many other things, when you're doing nothing but being a good, loyal, and faithful person in the relationship. So you can't be in a healthy relationship with somebody who is unhealthy, with somebody who is immature. You have to see it for what it is, and no matter what the feelings you have towards an individual in a romantic relationship, if they are immature, you're always going to have to deal with things that you feel they need to grow up with. So it's just not going to work. Now, I want to go to the next relationship where things just aren't going to work out, and that is the coworker sort of relationship. And it's the people that, outside of work, maybe you get together, you hang out, but it's not a level thing. Like, okay, when you're outside of work, it's fun. You hang out, you do all of these things, and it's great. But inside of work, they treat you a different way. They're not supportive. They're not nice. They're not kind to you. They turn into a different person. Maybe around some individuals, they don't want to talk to you. So it's not a balance, it's not an even, it's not a healthy relationship. And I have said it before. Some people do it, but I don't agree with having coworkers as friends outside of the workplace. There are people, you work with them and you can be cool, but I think there's always problems. There's always something that happens when you take what happens at work, a work associate, and try to make that work associate turn into a friendship. There always brings problems because some of the things that happen outside when maybe you are doing things and having fun, they bring your business back into the job and it can affect you. So you got to be very, very careful when it comes to those co-workers, because we all know a lot of them are very immature and they can be very grimy. So that's just not going to work if they're in all relationships. Anyone that I've talked about so far today, there has to be consistency. Consistency is in the way they show up for you, the way they treat you, the way they act, how they treat other people, in their mental health, yeah, and their energy. All of it is correlated. Now, the last relationship that I want to talk about before I get out of here, and I think that it is a very important relationships that, some people don't think that it can happen, but it's people that you meet on social media. I've heard many people say on social media that you can have a good friendship, relationship. There are some people who meet on social media and they meet the love of their life. There are some people who meet one of their best friends and it continues. But here is a note of caution that you have to be careful. You have to be mindful, because not everybody is who they say they are. The person that you may see on the avatar, they don't even look like how they look in that picture from 10, 15, 20 years ago when they were when they were looking younger, or when they had hair, or whatever it is. Or even sometimes people flat out lie, that's not even them. We all know those people who have content and they just make a picture, but that's not even really them. So you have to be very careful about social media relationships and what you tell to people offline that you meet online. You have to be careful because some people are schemers, scammers, mentally and emotionally unwell. It can be some very dangerous things that can happen to you to affect your entire life if you continue to have relationships with people who are not who they say they are. So just a word of caution to be careful what you tell. I always say that. Don't tell people your personal address. Don't give out your personal phone number. Of course, there's other things that you can use if you want to call somebody. Make yourself a Google phone number, but do not ever give out your personal phone number to anybody from social media. I've heard of some things that has been very disastrous. People who you think is your friend, the next thing it becomes stalking and doxing and so many other things. So we have to be careful on this social media space, because not everybody is okay. Not everybody is well. There's some very strange, weird, and toxic people on social media. and you have to be careful who you link up with. Not just people off of social media, but also online. Who, what kind of channels that you go to and support, um, because it can get to be very interesting. Some things that I've seen and read on people's social media, and some people on social media can be very controlling of what you do with your space on social media. It's very interesting to see how people act, how people react, and if these are individuals that you don't even know and they are already so controlling, judgmental, weird, how are they really in person? We have to open up our eyes. I have seen so much people that have done some self-harming habits to themselves because of what they've said, and they've overshared, and or some people because they shared some personal things and maybe they had a falling out with somebody from social media. Then they revealed and they gave the receipts, like I say in air quotes, they gave receipts of all your tea, all your personal business. So, like I always say, it's just not going to work with some individuals. And when you find that people are who they are, believe them, whether it's a person behind an avatar, a friend, a work associate, a romantic relationship, dating somebody, all of it, the full gamut. In every relationship, there's toxicity. And if you know somebody or you're dealing with somebody and there is not a consistent mental stability, if there is not consistent support, you know, for you and what you need as well, and it goes back and forth, or people aren't showing up for you, respecting you and your boundaries, that's not going to work. And I want to say to everybody, you deserve better. And you don't have to take the negativity. You don't have to take their drama, because some people are all about drama. So you have to protect yourself, know who you are, and know your worth. Okay? So just a short and a sweet one today. I appreciate all of my Gems family. Thank you so much for your support. Know yourself, love yourself, and respect yourself. And as I always say over here on Life with Marlene, love your life and live your life. I appreciate every single one of you. Shout out to all of my mods. Shout out to the channel members. And shout out to all of those who are new. If you enjoy the content, feel free to subscribe. It's free. And I'll see you guys back on tomorrow. Bye, guys.